This video is brought to you by John Robson Guitar Tuition. If you enjoy the content, please consider supporting the channel by enrolling on a course, purchasing some guitar lessons or a t-shirt, or you can join my Patreon. Now, on with the show. Hello chaps, welcome once again to John Robson Guitar Tuition. As always, I do hope you're well. That was me doing basically pretty much a one-take warts and all jam over one of the jam tracks that I regularly use in the guitar lessons that I do. And if you enjoyed that little solo and thought, well, I wouldn't mind having a play over that jam track myself, then stick around till the end of the video when you'll get the chance. Anyway, this being Wednesday, we're dealing with a viewer's question, and that solo is kind of relevant to the question that came in this week from a chap called Dermot.
John, could you do a video about what you're thinking when you play a solo? Sort of what's going through your mind while you play and such like. Why you choose this note over that one, or are you just linking shapes when you play? Thanks, Dermot.
So what is it that goes through my head as I'm playing a solo? Well, let me put it this way.
Here is the explanation.
Okay, first things first, the return of Blondie, my signature guitar. She's been a bit under the weather lately, a problem with the wiring that needed sorting out, and one or two frets up the dusty end that needed a little bit of spot levelling, just fair wear and tear basically. But it's all fixed now, and it's good to have the old girl back. Anyway, what goes through my head as I'm playing a solo? Well, the first thing I like to get sorted out is which pentatonic scale is going to be sort of my safety net for playing over a chord sequence. Much as I do like to think in terms of playing over chord changes and, kind of targeting chord tones and stuff, there are times when, even with the best set of ears in the world, you can sometimes lose track of where you are. This is especially true on stage if the monitors aren't really performing the way you'd like, and you just get, I'm sure anybody who's ever played a gig will recognise this situation where you've just got this kind of swirling kind of wash of musical noise, and it's sometimes not easy to determine where exactly you are in the chord sequence with a degree of certainty. It doesn't happen all the time, but it can happen. So figuring out like a good safety net scale is always a good ploy. And if we look at the chord sequence that I was playing over there, let's just take a look at that top line there, the A section, because it doesn't really change in terms of the overall feel throughout. If I just play through that top line there, it goes like this. and you can hear that it just wants to naturally settle on that last chord that I played there, which was an A. This is what we call the tonality of a chord sequence. It's often, and in this case it is, the same thing as what key you're in, but it doesn't have to be, okay? And all you got to do is remember to basically match that tonality, whatever chord it is that's where things seem to want to settle, match that with your choice of pentatonic scale. So because that's an A major chord that is acting as the tonality, I use the A major pentatonic. Easy way to find a major pentatonic is just find the root note with your little finger like this, and then that tells you where to play that pentatonic box pattern. And if you know how the other box patterns fit onto that, like this, and back up to an octave above where we started, then you've got a pretty good safety net mapped out along the neck of the guitar that you know is it's going to get you out of trouble if you get a little bit lost. So that's the first thing, tonality. The next thing I like to think about are chord tones. So for example, that first chord there is an A major chord, and all of the notes of that A major chord are in that A major pentatonic. So, there are 3 notes in that chord, there are 5 notes in the pentatonic scale. The law of averages states that you're probably going to, spend a lot of time hanging around on the notes that are in that chord because it's 3/5 of that A major pentatonic scale. But the chord that comes after it is the C sharp minor. Now you can actually see, if you look at the pentatonic scale, we've got these 2 notes on this string here. But that C sharp minor chord has this note, so it's just too tempting for me not to go for it, so to land on that note there, and then you start thinking about maybe where else it can be found. Well, like that. I think I played something like that kind of lick at the beginning of the solo. So just, being able to spot where those chord tones are and just landing on them, providing you haven't lost track of where you are in the sequence. And then just, doing the, when we get to the D chord that's in there, if we just take a look at this, you can see in the 4th bar there's a D chord. And, looking at the pentatonic pattern again, we can see there's the pentatonic pattern, and on this string we've got these 2 notes. But if I play a D chord, you can see the D chord has this note here. It's actually the root note of the chord, the D note. Now, I kind of cottoned on to, kind of being able to spot notes that are in the chords that kind of lie outside the basic pentatonic box, probably before I knew what the note names were on the neck. I could just see that, well, this chord has this note in it, and it's not in the scale, so when I get to that chord, I'm going to add that note in, and, that was the beginnings of me kind of starting to figure out the neck, really. So, landing on chord tones is another thing. The other thing that you want to do is, because you could do all of this, you could play the scale, you could kind of land on chord tones, but it could still just sound like somebody playing a bunch of notes, until you give it some kind of hook, some sort of, some melodic shape. So, like, if I was to play this little lick, for example, that has an identifiable rhythmic kind of shape, da-da-da-da-da-da, da-da, like that. So, if I play something like that, play the next lick in something of a similar vein, like that, and you will naturally get it. It builds a sense of familiarity in the listener's ear and gives you a sense of continuity. And then once you've established that hook, basically, you can, start playing around with it. Maybe take the same da-da-da-da-da-da-da kind of rhythm and just go somewhere else with it, maybe... like that. And then if you're coupling that with, these notes that you're kind of emphasising, like there, that, make sure that that note is, a strong note from the underlying chord, a good strong chord tone like we've just been discussing. And you're going to sound melodic and tuneful, and it's going to work. So you should always be listening for these little kind of catchy bits, these hooks, that will sort of happen almost... unbidden, because if you play a lick and it sounds, I'm pleased with that one, then play it again, but maybe end it slightly differently, or take the rhythmic aspect of it and do it again. So you should always be listening to what you're doing, and on the lookout for those kind of hooky bits, those catchy bits, motifs, if you want the textbook musical term for them, and make use of them. Another good ploy, I don't think I did it in this solo, but it is something that I will often do, is I will make sure that before I start playing the solo, that I'll have a strong opening gambit, a strong kind of hooky line that that I'm going to start the solo off with, and then I'll just kind of do me thing and improvise and jam and do whatever. And then, at some point... possibly towards the end of the solo, go back to that first lick that you played, and it gives a sense of having gone full circle. You've been on a journey and you've come back somewhere. So in terms of what goes through my head as I'm playing a solo, that's pretty much it. I look for a basic safety net pentatonic scale that I can then bolt on lots of other, or as many other kind of chord tone notes that I want to use, and I get those just by, as I say initially, just by looking at the chord shape and saying, does that chord shape have a note in it that doesn't crop up in the pentatonic box? If so, whop that note in when you are playing the over that chord. So your pentatonic scale, chord tones, and just catchy little hooky bits that will give your solo a sense of melodic continuity and familiarity in the listener's ear. That's how I do it, and if it works for me, it'll work for you. So now you know what to do. Go away and have some fun with it. And as usual, you'll find a full tab for that solo in both Guitar Pro and PDF formats, along with a clip of me playing it, an extended length jam track for you to have a good old noodle around over, and that explanation clip there that you've just seen, all of that is up on my Patreon page. There's the address, and the link is in the description. $3 or £2.50 a month gets you access to all of these additional resources that go along with these YouTube videos. A massive, massive thank you to all of you who support me in that, or any of the other ways, all of which are linked down below. So that's pretty much how I approach playing a solo. So coming up next is like the short version of the jam track. Don't forget, if you want the longer version, it's about 4 minutes long, then sign up for the Patreon thing and you'll find it up there. And that's pretty much the video for today, folks. Hope you've enjoyed what you've seen and found it useful and informative in some small way. And if that's the case, please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell if you haven't already done so. And why not drop me a like while you're at it? But that's enough blethering from me. Oh yeah, the live stream every Friday, 5 PM UK time. We drink beer and talk about music and guitars. Great way to kick off the weekend. Love to see you there if you can make it. But for now, I'll bid you all a good day and say thank you so much for watching. Thank you for your time. Look after yourselves, folks. Stay well, stay safe, and above all, stay sane. Here's the jam track. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.